It's been a week since 24 Legacy ended, and I feel like it's enough time has passed where I feel like most people should have seen the show by now. It's time to review 24 Legacy, which is a continuation of one of my absolute favorite show of all time. There will be mild spoilers in this review. You have been warned. If you haven't seen 24 Legacy, I would suggest that you catch up. So 24 Legacy is like a 24 spin-off. Like I said, it's a continuation that takes place in the same universe as the rest of 24. There's still CTU, but it's a whole new cast of characters and a whole new premise and a whole new plot and a whole new terrorist and a whole new everything. We've got a new lead played by Corey Hawkins. He plays this former Army Ranger named Eric Carter, and Eric Carter gets swept up into this terrorist plot when one of his former Army Ranger teammates contacts him and basically like, hey, these dudes are after me, man. Turns out that because of a mission that Eric Carter and his former team did in the past, they're being hunted now in the present by these terrorists, and these terrorists are after some information that'll help them carry out their attacks. And their attacks are really in the form of sleeper cells. That's right, the sleeper cell plotline is back, folks. Sleeper cells that are supposed to carry out a bunch of random attacks across the United States, and that's basically how the story gets started, and then it morphs, and then it evolves, and then it changes over the course of the season, like every season of 24 does. The biggest thing that people pointed to is like, what the hell? Is that there is no Jack Bauer. That's right, no Jack Bauer, and really no other older cast members from the previous 24 except for one. For a lot of 24 fans, this was pretty polarizing. This was like a big point of contention. It was like, no Jack Bauer, no 24. He is 24. On my 24. But I'm a 24 fan, so I did check it out. And I gotta say, I actually really like this season. Does it have problems? You bet. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and I would really look forward to a season 2 of 24, even if there was no Jack Bauer. And we all know how badass Jack Bauer is, right? I mean, Jack Bauer is the ultimate Bamf. He's Babar. You've heard me call him this before. He's the man with the most intense whisper in the history of television. I feel like that should be a record in the Guinness World Book of Records, and it's not, but it probably should be. Might as well start off by talking about the new lead, Eric Carter, played by Corey Hawkins. First of all, I like Corey Hawkins as an actor. I think he lent a lot of credibility and gravitas to this role. The best thing I can say about his character is that he's not Jack Bauer. He's not trying to be Jack Bauer, and that's kind of the best thing I can say about him. It would have been so easy for Fox to just plop a black guy in the role and say, well, you're the black Jack Bauer now, go for it. So they made his character very distinct and different from Jack Bauer, where you feel like Jack Bauer was driven by a sense of patriotic duty. Eric Carter is driven by that sort of, but he's also driven by this insatiable hunger and this longing in him for thrill and for adrenaline and for adventure and for action, and he kind of needs that lifestyle. In fact, his character arc over most of this season is about that lifestyle in and of itself. It's about him struggling to come to grips with the fact that he actually needs this type of work. He doesn't have the intensity of a Kiefer Sutherland, but his performance is really good. He has compassion and he's resourceful, and he still proves over the course of the season that he can be a badass and he can kick ass just in different ways than maybe you've seen before. One of the best things about the series is the dynamic between Eric Carter and Rebecca Ingram. Rebecca Ingram is the former head of CTU who used to head up Carter and his Army Rangers on a secret mission that basically started the plot of this whole season. Her dynamic with Carter is really good. You feel like she understands him more than he understands himself, and you feel like he understands her more than she understands herself. They have a really good partnership slash mentorship, and Rebecca Ingram, more than any other new character on 24 Legacy, reminded me the most of Jack Bauer. Yeah, she's cold when she needs to be, she's ruthless when she needs to be, she gets the job done. Yeah, she does some things that are kind of morally ambiguous, where you kind of look back and you go, it's kind of gray area, but that's kind of what Jack would do. Overall, strong performance by Miranda Otto, and I really liked her dynamic with that, and I also liked the new CTU. You've got Professor Zoom from Flash, he's basically CTU head Mullins. You've got Andy, who's kind of filling in as kind of the techie for Chloe, and he had some really interesting stuff in his story too. At first he felt like a less awesome version of Chloe, but over the course of the season, you do grow to care about these people. Not to mention Edgar Styles' cousin, Edgar Styles' fine-ass cousin. Hey, I got a lot of love for you, Edgar, but you ain't got no business having a cousin that damn fine. Overall, the suspense is there, the action is there, it feels like classic 24. In fact, over the course of the season, you're gonna see specific plot points and specific things that happen where you're gonna be like, oh, well, I've seen that before. Oh, well, this is really familiar. Oh, well, that storyline is really specific. In general, I would say that this season compares the most with elements from Season 8, Season 4, and most notably Season 1. Season 1, you got, the son of a former terrorist who's trying to carry out terrorist attacks in his father's name, and then you find out over the course of the season that the father is actually alive. Yeah, shit like that happens in this season with Ben Khalid, and again, it's kind of overly familiar, but it doesn't mean that the story itself is not interesting. Even though the reveal of Ben Khalid was pretty predictable, and oh, good God almighty, look at that mug! Holy mother of Jesus Christ, Mary, Saint Joseph, that is... Oh, shit. Gosh, he's so ugly you'd have to use math to add up how ugly he is. Yeah, basically, if you take the hideousness of Smeagol, you add it to whatever happened to this poor gentleman's face, and then you multiply it by a piece of literal shit, and then you'd pretty much have this guy's face. Hey, don't get mad at me, guys. That's just simple math. I feel like summoning Weasel from Deadpool to get this dude. As a matter of fact, Weasel from Deadpool, get him.
You look like Shrek took a shit on your neck. You look like the inside of other people's assholes. You look like somebody turned your face inside out and then just left it like that, but then you got in a house fire. You look like a house fire was in another house fire. Like a trash can full of shit was placed on your shoulders and then you were in a train fire.
Tony Almeida is back. That's right. They did announce over the course of the season that Tony Almeida would be making a comeback in 24 Legacy. It is so great to see Tony back. Tony is one of my favorite characters in 24 ever. We haven't seen him full-time since season 7. We did see him a little bit on the Blu-ray for Live Another Day. Solitude, if you haven't seen that, basically it just shows how Tony got out of prison. But overall, it's great to see this character back, except he doesn't really get utilized all that well. I'm gonna be honest, Tony in this season feels like glorified fan service. He feels really shoehorned. He doesn't really lend anything. He doesn't really add anything. He comes in, he has an interesting introduction. They tease a past with him and Rebecca Ingram. He has an interrogation scene that wastes some time and doesn't really go anywhere, and then he has a brilliant, awesome, brutal fight with Eric Carter in the finale. Actually, that fight scene between him and Eric Carter is one of the best fight scenes that 24 has ever done. But outside of that, Tony doesn't really do much of anything. Tony kind of feels like he was just shoved in the season just to go, hey, we have Tony Almeida back, so that's why you should watch. It feels shoehorned. It feels completely out of left field. He doesn't even really connect to the plot, like, at all. Like, he doesn't even really tie in. It'd be like if I'm talking to you guys about 24 Legacy, and I'm trying to review the season, and then something just randomly interrupts that really has no purpose in it. It's
work, 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 work. You see me heavy work, 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 work. You see me do me dirt, 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 dirt. There's something about that work, 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 work.
Now, we all need Dancing Elmo in our lives, but did Dancing Elmo really contribute to this review at all? Not really. It didn't really. So I feel like Tony was underutilized, and I would say that about some of the characters in this season. Like Jimmy Smits as Senator Donovan, who plays Rebecca Ingram's husband. He felt a little bit underdeveloped. He gave a good performance, though. The most interesting aspect of this new season was also the fact that they used this little high school sleeper cell plot. Yeah, I liked that plot because it felt really unique, and it felt different, and it felt like something that I hadn't seen before. So I really liked that aspect of the show. Unfortunately, guys, there are some writing issues and some inconsistencies and some leaps in logic towards the second half of the season that kind of take me out of the show a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong, 24 is known for being unrealistic and ridiculous and having plot holes and stuff like that, but you feel like if the show is better made and if Kiefer Sutherland can sell you on it, that you can kind of look past this stuff. In the second half of the season, it just kept piling up to the point where some of the leaps in logic, some of the bullshit just took me out of the show personally, and I don't feel like the writing for this season in general is as good as previous seasons of 24. The finale kind of landed with a dull dud instead of a bang, and there was a great fight between Eric and Tony, and then the rest of the episode was kind of filler. Also, Nicole Carter, who is Eric Carter's wife in the show, she had a plot line and a subplot that I didn't really care that much for. It was kind of hit or miss. I mean, she did show that she was a capable character, a strong woman who could take care of herself and was also ride or die for Eric. But at the same time, it's kind of like she gets drawn into this little awkward love triangle between him and his brother that doesn't really go anywhere and kind of feels like a waste of time. Also, the biggest thing for me is that 24 has always set a very high bar when it comes to action, and the action scenes in this show, outside of the Eric and Tony fight, which again is one of the series' best, I don't really feel like the action scenes in general were that memorable. Honestly, there really was a lack of truly memorable, well-done action scenes in this season. There are a few of them, and the ones that are there, they really aren't that memorable, save for like a couple. In the end, guys, I really did enjoy 24 Legacy. I think it's a really good start. I would like to see a season 2. This one had a lot of potential, a lot of things work about it, and some things really just don't work about it, especially towards the end. I think they could have finished things up a little bit better. I'm going to go post-Crisis Man of Steel for my rating for this show. It's pretty good, but it's too flawed for me to say that I almost loved it. I still would watch it again, though. Alright, so now, updated list, 24 Legacy. Where do you rank it among the best seasons of 24? Let me know down below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show and follow me on Twitter at SuperfanHM. I will put a link to my Facebook page down below. If you like what you see, tell me how you feel and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace!